Welcome to this edition of Literary Reviews. I am Zumeri Jones, and today we are reviewing Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. First, I will introduce a few of the main characters. Feel free to use the chapter timeline to skip the character introductions. The protagonist of the novel is a study in duality. Originally Alonso Quijano, he is a gentle 50-year-old landowner whose obsession with chivalric romances fractures his mind. He reinvents himself as Don Quixote, a knight-errant charged with reviving the lost code of chivalry. Narratively, he is the engine of the story. His delusions force the world around him to react. While comical in his madness, he is also deeply noble, eloquent, and brave. His arc is tragic. He spends the novel striving to impose his poetic vision on a prosaic world, only to be defeated by reality. Sancho serves as the grounded counterweight to Quixote's flighty idealism. A short, pot-bellied peasant, he leaves his family to serve as Quixote's squire, initially motivated by greed and the promise of governorship over an island. However, his narrative arc is perhaps the most dynamic in the book. While he begins as a simpleton who constantly points out the reality of situations, he slowly becomes quixotized. He develops a deep, protective love for his master and begins to share in his illusions. Dulcinea is unique in that she drives the plot without ever actually appearing in the novel. To Quixote, she is the most beautiful woman in the world, a princess for whom he fights and suffers. In reality, she is Aldonza Lorenzo, a sturdy, loud, and rough-handed peasant woman from a neighboring village who salts pork and knows nothing of Quixote's existence. She represents the gulf between Quixote's perception and reality. Throughout the narrative, Sancho and others must invent lies about meeting her to satisfy Quixote. A student from Quixote's village, Sansón Carrasco represents the forces of reason and modernity, though his methods are morally ambiguous. He is a proud intellectual who initially engages with Quixote's madness to cure him. He disguises himself as a rival knight, first as the Knight of the Mirrors, where he is accidentally defeated by Quixote, and later as the Knight of the White Moon. His second attempt is successful. He defeats Quixote in combat and forces him to retire from knight-errantry for a year. The priest and the barber are Quixote's friends and neighbors who serve as the chorus of the village. They are deeply concerned for Alonso Quixano's well-being and initiate the plot by burning his library of chivalric books. Throughout Part 1, they chase after Quixote in disguise, devising elaborate schemes to trick him into returning home. They represent conventional society, concerned and protective, but ultimately unable to understand the vitality and freedom Quixote finds in his madness. Appearing in Part 2, the Duke and Duchess are wealthy aristocrats who are the cruelest characters in the narrative. Unlike others who play along with Quixote to help him, the Duke and Duchess manipulate his madness solely for their own amusement. They have read the first part of the novel and treat Quixote and Sancho like performing monkeys. They represent a cynical nobility that is far less noble than the mad knight they mock. Our story begins in the arid plains of La Mancha, Spain. Therein lives Alonso Quijano, an aging gentleman of modest means. Consumed by an obsessive love for chivalric romances, tales of knights errant, giants, and damsels in distress, he reads so voraciously that his brains dry up, and he loses his grip on reality.
No longer Alonso Quijano, I am rather Don Quixote de la Mancha. The world is in a state of moral decay and urgently must have my intervention to save it, for it has lost its way. My trusty steed will carry me on my journey, and I will call him Rocinante.
A knight-errant cannot exist without a lady to serve. I designate Aldonza Lorenzo as my noble lady love, Dulcinea del Toboso.
Quixote's first adventure is a brief, solitary failure. He mistakes an inn for a castle and demands the innkeeper dub him a knight. After a farcical ceremony, he attempts to right wrongs on the road but ends up badly beaten by a group of merchants for insulting them. A neighbor finds him and brings him home, where his niece and housekeeper, along with the local priest and barber, burn his library of books in an attempt to cure his madness. They wall off his study and tell him an enchanter stole it.
Not all of the books.
Yeah.
Only the ones that add to his delusion.
Anything with a knight. Or chivalry.
Or damsels.
Damselry.
Or nobility. Or magical thinking.
How do we know which ones? I haven't read them all.
Me neither. If in doubt,
Chuck it.
What a waste. We have no choice.
They are making the man cuckoo, loco, nutty as a fruitcake, mad as a hatter, goofy in the head.
Undeterred, Quixote recruits a simple, pot-bellied peasant named Sancho Panza to be his squire, promising him the governorship of an island in return for his service. Together, they form one of literature's most iconic duos, the tall, idealistic, and delusional knight, alongside the short, pragmatic, and proverb-spouting squire.
If we're successful in our adventures, I'll make you the governor of an island. And if I may win casual battles that result in immediate wealth, I will grant you a share of the spoils. Tio, this prospect is far more exciting than your mundane existence as a peasant farmer. I would like to be the governor of an island. It sounds good.
Do you do 401k matching? If so, how long does it take to get vested?
Their most famous adventure occurs almost immediately when Quixote spots 30 or 40 windmills on a plain.
It's windy up here. Let's keep going. Get back, Squire. I'll take care of this.
Believing them to be ferocious giants, he charges at full speed, only to be knocked off his horse when his lance gets caught in a spinning sail.
Dagnabbit. It turned back into a windmill. If it hadn't, that giant would have been toast. Whatever you say, Jefe. You're the boss.
He explains away this failure by claiming his nemesis, the enchanter Freston, turned the giants into windmills at the last second to steal his glory. The pair wanders the Spanish countryside, encountering a kaleidoscope of characters: goat herds, galley slaves, and nobles. Quixote's madness consistently transforms the mundane into the mythical. He attacks 2 flocks of sheep, believing them to be opposing armies. Then, he frees a chain of dangerous criminals who immediately pelt him with stones.
My good knight, sir, we are being forced to the galleys against our will. I stole a basket of laundry. I confessed under torture.
Guards, this is a grave injustice. Release these men at once, under the order of Sir Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Now, get them off their horses! They're fleeing! We are victorious!
Now that you are free, I command you to march to the village of El Toboso and present yourselves to my lady Dulcinea to tell her of this great deed. Those ungrateful knaves beamed me on my noggin. Squire, help me up!
In the second part of the novel, published 10 years after the first, Quixote and Sancho learn that a book has been written about their earlier adventures. They are now famous. They eventually meet a duke and duchess who, having read the book, decide to amuse themselves by playing elaborate pranks on the pair. They treat Quixote as a real knight. The duke and duchess order their entire household to play along with his fantasy. They house him in luxury, treat him with excessive ceremony, and stage elaborate theatrical events. Quixote is being mocked. The adventures are now scripted humiliations.
Sir Quixote, this evening we will be feasting in your honor, and several hoity-toity people are invited.
Finally, I have found people appreciate who I am and genuinely acknowledge my elevated status.
The duke and duchess grant Sancho his island to govern. Although Sancho believes it is an island, it is actually a landlocked village within the duke's estate. The duke instructs his servants to treat Sancho with mock reverence.
Not bad. This guy is better than I expected. He seems to have common sense. He seems like one of us.
The decisions he has made are quite good.
I don't feel comfortable. Because of my fear of success, I don't like it when people have high expectations of me.
Surprisingly, Sancho proves to be a wise and capable ruler, though he eventually resigns, realizing the burden of power is too great. And he prefers the freedom of the road. The pranks turn cruel, and the journey begins to lose its charm. Estamos aquí para dos.
Si no van a consumir, tendrán que marcharse.
Tengo derecho a estar en esta tierra. No pienso moverme. Eventually, Quixote arrives in Barcelona, where he is challenged to a duel by the Knight of the White Moon. This mysterious knight is actually Sansón Carrasco, a bachelor from Quixote's own village, who has disguised himself to defeat Quixote and force him to return home for his own health.
Yes, if you're wondering. That hurt as badly as you might imagine. A year off might allow me more time to sit on the front porch. That sounds good.
Quixote is defeated. As a condition of his loss, he must abandon knight-errantry for 1 year. Broken-hearted and physically weakened, he returns to his village, his spirit crushed by the realization of his limitations. Back home, Quixote falls ill with a severe fever. In his final days, his madness suddenly lifts.
I renounce my knightly identity and declare myself once again Alonso Quijano the Good. I apologize to Sancho for dragging him into my delusions and denounce the chivalric books that ruined my mind.
Despite Sancho's tearful pleas for him to get up and go on new adventures, perhaps to become shepherds, Quixote dies peacefully in his bed. The saga ends with the notary confirming his death, ensuring no other author can resurrect him for false sequels. The Knight of the Sad Countenance is laid to rest, leaving behind a legacy that questions the line between madness and heroism, and reality and illusion. Thank you for joining us with this edition of Literary Reviews.